Welcome to the Saturday Morning Block Party Podcast. I'm host Norbert, and today we're talking about one of the best cartoons ever, Ed, Edd n Eddy. The uninitiated, Ed, Edd n Eddy is a show about three boys with the same name who scam the neighborhood kids out of their money so they can buy jawbreakers. And that works out just about as well as you'd expect. We're going to be talking about why we love the show so much. We're also going to do some analysis on the characters. We're going to talk about some fan theories like what's under Double D's hat, is Plank alive? We're going to have a lot of fun today. Helping me talk about Ed, Edd n Eddy is probably the one person who did not work on a show who has the most encyclopedic knowledge of Ed, Edd n Eddy, Kevin Lordi, who is an independent animator. I'll see you again at the end of the episode. Enjoy. I really love how they format the whole episode as a home movie and Eddie trying to impress his brother, all the different ways that, all the different creative things they do with the format, like when Ed swallows the camera and Double D has to reach in and grab it.
Oh yeah, that's a great gag. And something I didn't even notice until like very recently when I was talking to one of the show's artists about it. They don't have any background music once it switches to the camera format, so it's like just this is the Ed's real life, no music or anything.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah, the only music is that the song that Eddie puts on in his room at the end, and then it's during the credits too.
I love how Jimmy just busts into the party and takes it over.
Oh, that's a different episode, but that's
right.
One of my best. That's one of my favorites too.
But you know, I love how Rolf is in this episode. How he's just angry and everyone's so scared of him. I love how just disgusted and appalled he gets when he sees what Ed's been doing to his chickens. And no, that's not as bad as it sounds.
That's some other good Rolf stuff from that episode.
In the end, he's mostly just in the background. And I think the joke is that he mostly gets ignored.
Yeah, they just try to brush Rolf off, but...
You dare insult the son of a shepherd?
Another episode I like is that one from season 5 where they're like finding out about his backstory with the Wolfman and stuff.
That really wasn't a memorable episode for me, but what did you like about it?
It's like there's that one flashback episode with all the different flashbacks, and then that's the only other episode that ever had a flashback. And it's really interesting to me, just getting to explore his country, because they didn't really do that at all until that season.
Well, they did do it somewhat in that episode when Rolf wished he could go home.
I mean, like, firsthand, though. But they did... That's, like, the first time we did see a little bit of his picture with Wilfred in that episode.
Yeah.
What other episode should we talk about?
You know, I really like the episode 1 + 1 = Ed. It's the episode when the Eds decide that they can make a lot of money if they learn everything there is, and eventually it turns into this surreal deconstruction of art and animation and cartoon logic. It's amazing.
It really is. I believe that one's by someone who's not on a lot of other episodes. I can find it on my blog. So that one's really good. It's like, it was the point where I realized this was a show that I had to follow, like, for real. Had to commit to it.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that goes on at first or as a kid, it just seems like random, weird things happening. But when you think about it a lot of the stuff is really based in concepts of art. Like the one part where it's a giant compared to other stuff that's a play on perspective, because he puts his hand up and it's behind the sun. And, you know, because the sun's far away, it seems like it's closer and Eddie could grab it.
Yeah, it's very conceptual. It's a very interesting episode.
Yeah.
I just missed who the storyboarders were. Scott Diggs and Pat. I don't think Pat Pikula is on maybe like one other episode, but he does a lot of really good work in this. Like, okay. So yeah, the other storyboard artist on it is Pat Pikula. He's not on a lot of other episodes, but he's very good on this one. I would have liked to see him on a lot of other episodes, but Scott Diggs is one of the strongest artists, so it makes sense that it's also his episode. And it's just full of really great concepts, like Johnny and Plank switching heads, and Naz as a dinosaur. And I know there's one deleted scene from it that they've mentioned in interviews and stuff, where Double D and Eddy were going to be dressed as like Fred and Wilma, and Ed was going to be Dino, or is it that? Yeah,
I would have liked to see that.
I would have too.
I think the parts that really stood out to me were, the cartoon logic parts where there was a hole and Eddy fell through it, and when Eddy started running so his legs looked like circles, he jumped out and put Sarah in that.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so let's talk about the audio in Ed, Edd n Eddy.
It's like an elephant's off your back, huh, Lumpy? Tell me a story, Eddy.
Ed! You're supposed to be practicing! Mom said so!
I am so confused. Get out of my room, you twerp!
Move it! Eddy, Sarah's here.
What do you think about the soundtrack?
I think it's the best soundtrack I've ever heard in anything. Well, in terms of music, it's, my favorite music's probably like Invader Zim or something, but I really love the music in Ed, Edd n Eddy too, and I like when they do like disco tracks and it's listened to. It's usually really catchy, even though it's just a loop.
Yeah, like that generic beach song.
Yeah, I don't think that makes it out of season 2, but I wish they kept it forever. And some of my favorite music that's just for an episode is like in season 5 Cool Hand Ed, when they're trying to escape the school. That whole plane sequence has this really theatrical cinematic score, and I love it. I wish I could like find it without the audio for it.
I really love the soundtrack. It always see a TV show with a really jazzy score. And besides the jazzy score and all the stuff you mentioned, they have a lot of varied stuff depending on what kind of scene or mood they're trying to do. A lot of the tracks will have little kids' toy music, like the little toy pianos that little kids have and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice some of this until some of the music from the movie on SoundCloud recently, but all of the characters have themes. I know Sarah and Jimmy's theme is like that little, I think it's like a xylophone. Yeah, that's it. But Double D has a theme, and like when it gets to that part of the movie where the dramatic scene in the swamp, it's supposed to be like Double D's theme just exploding past where it's supposed to end and getting really overblown and dramatic, and it's great. Oh, and Eddy's brother's theme is pretty interesting because it's like, I think either Danny played some guitar for it himself, or he just requested that there be guitar because he plays guitar. There's really no guitar anywhere else in the show until then. So it's like, this is what this new character adds to it, that he's just sort of a rock and roll maniac.
Something about Ed, Edd n Eddy that really sticks out and I can really appreciate is all the different sound effects they use. They have almost every movement or reaction, just a different, unique sound effect, like the sumo sound effect, or the sound of a fishing line, or a baby doll, just in funny places. Yeah, like that scene we were talking about with Ralph at the end of An Ed is Born has that great, he looks at the camera with wall eyes and it goes, Mama. Yes.
It's the best part. And, yeah, I think it's like the best use of sound design I've ever heard. It's just like, I would want to hire those people if I ever had my own show. They knew how to make sound funny.
Yeah, those people are animals. They're probably the hardest working sound technicians in animation history. Unlike Johnny Test's sound team.
Ugh. And, have you seen The League of Super Evil, I think it's called?
I don't think so.
That was like a CGI show from Canada a while ago, and it had the same sound designers as Ed, Edd n Eddy, and they used a lot of the same sound effects, and they used it really well too.
Did they use the sumo one?
I'm not sure, but probably.
That is my favorite one.
It's hard to beat. To pronounce, too. It's like, yeah. What's another one I like? I like that one where they look at something and it goes, hello? It's like in the Boomerang episode, Ed gets in really close. No, Double D gets in really close to the Boomerang, and then you just hear, hello? In the background, like through a phone.
Wow.
Yeah, I just really love those sound design. It's really the best I've ever heard. There's nothing really like it.
Yeah. I hope some shows in the future have that same amount of effort and creativity.
Yeah, it's a really full show. Something to watch on every level, or listen to. Every sense has something.
Yeah.
You can taste it if you try hard.
Now, one of my favorite episodes is the Invaded episode, and for those of you who don't know, a few years ago, Cartoon Network did this huge cross-show thing called Cartoon Network Invaded, where they had Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Camp Lazlo, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And there was this overarching plot where there were aliens coming to Earth. And I think the Ed, Edd and Eddy episode was by far the best, and it works even standing on its own.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's like, when I watched those, I was like, Ed and Eddy is really carrying this. No one else is committing to this as much as they did.
Well, maybe Billy and Mandy, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Billy and Mandy really pulled it off in the end, but 2 out of 5 specials. Come on. I liked the way that Billy and Mandy connected it too. I liked their first ending the best, because you remember there were 2 different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first ending had did it have both Ed and Plank, or was Ed only in the second ending?
I don't really remember the endings too well.
First one, I remember all the aliens were talking around a table explaining.
Oh, right. They were stuck in the stupid.
Yeah, and Plank turned out to be like an evil alien probe or something.
Wow.
I don't know if that's canon, but I kind of like the theory.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, no, you go.
I have the episode open right here, so I'm looking at who did it. It's directed by Joel Dickey and Danny, of course, but the storyboards are directed by Joel. It also has Woody, who I was talking about on Ed is Born, and Big Jim, who's another one of those big names from Ed's. So it's like their big magnum opus at the end.
There was just so much that the episode did really well. It was, even as a kid and today, it was just genuinely creepy and unsettling, that alien invasion. It starts out with Jimmy having a dream, and it's how you would imagine Jimmy would dream. It's full of flowers and candy and stuff. But then suddenly out of nowhere, a vortex opens up in the sky and turns dark, like black and purple, and there's lightning, and suddenly saws come out and saw up a huge chunk of the earth, and claws try to pick it up, and Jimmy falls down the cliff. And
they really blew me away. I was not expecting to ever get that much out of Ed and Eddy, but they really went above and beyond.
Yeah, after seeing that, I would really love to see the team behind Ed and Eddy do some kind of supernatural or horror cartoon. And I really love how the kids react to this, because it seems really realistic how a bunch of maybe 12-year-old kids would react in this kind of situation where they think that aliens invaded and they're in one of the houses. And it's not like a situation where, it's just a easy misunderstanding. Those kids have overactive imaginations. No, there was a lot of really suspicious stuff going on. Like, the entire house had a huge radius where it was super hot, and Ed got shot out of the chimney, and there was a huge crater.
Yeah, did you see the thing I posted recently about what that was?
No.
I can't explain it in the episode, but one writer has just joined Tumblr, and he mentioned that the meteor that Ed was in was actually sausage casing, and I guess that got deleted from the episode. Very, very strange. I thought it was like cheese or something to connect with the cheese in all the other stories.
Wow. What did you think about Kevin in that episode?
I think it's like the best Kevin episode. It's really cool that there's a whole 30-minute special about Kevin, and he thinks and leads the kids, and just weird little subtle things he does where he's not really good at interacting with them or coaching them or anything.
I really sympathize with Kevin in that episode, because there's this scene where the kids are rallied up and they're going to storm the house, but they're just incredibly incompetent, and Kevin just will not put up with that. He's done.
I think that reminds me of the episode in season 5. I think it's the most forgettable to me, the one where they're playing football.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, the whole thing of that is just Kevin wants to coach them, but he doesn't know how, and he just fails. He doesn't do it well at all at the end. But this episode takes that and applies it to something we can actually care about and see them progress in, and it's really interesting. I'm like glad it exists because it, personally to me, it makes up for like that football episode.
Yeah.
It gets to the idea to the end. It's fully developed, is what it should be.
Sun's up, I hit the floor. Shoes tied, I'm out the door. This is a clean shirt, I think it was one yesterday. Free day, I'm on my own. No plans, I got to sell home. I call my boys up, spend a little time outside today. Never like being in when I gotta be. Never like being told who I gotta see. I like no commitments growing up around me. I'm not coming in anymore. Everything I want is just outside the door. I'm not coming in anymore. Got too many friends on.
How do you feel about Ed, Edd and Eddy going into school in winter last season or so?
Well, no one likes the school as much as summer, of course. It's hard to bring in a new thing 5 seasons in and then be like, okay, this is what we're doing all the time. No one really gets used to that, but I like the school personally. It's the lane except it has stories. The only thing I didn't like was when they were in classrooms. It felt kind of trapped and claustrophobic then, but that's only like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then they just started doing everything in clubs or after school, in the cul-de-sac after school or on weekends, and it's pretty cool.
I personally don't like the school setting as much, but I really do appreciate that there's a change of scenery in that it's fall and sometimes winter.
Yeah, I don't like fall that much. Days in fall, so I should like it, but it's just, I don't think it's that interesting for a whole season. I think they should have just gone straight to winter and done maybe 2 seasons in winter, because I really like the specials that are set in winter, and the couple of episodes we got at the end that are set in winter. It just seems like a good second part to the summer episodes.
Yeah.
And also, you don't have to have them in school at all, because they're just like snowed out or whatever.
Yeah. That Christmas special is amazing.
I love it. And one that has the animation director from the old episodes, so you get to see a lot of really cool stuff from him too.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Sheldon Arts, and I think it's the second to last one with Angus Bungay, who did the inking for the first 4 seasons.
Oh.
Hanky Panky Hullabaloo's the last one with him, though.
I don't really care for Hanky Panky Hullabaloo.
I think it's like a weird fan fiction episode, because it's like this different imagination and everything. They're just kind of working through everything, but just as a standalone thing, I like it. I think it's cool that there's one special where the Eds don't have to just have their lives ruined in the end, so that was nice.
I think fanfiction is the best way to describe it, and I just did not understand at all Jimmy and Sarah being little cupids. I think of it as like these otherworldly sprites who don't actually look like that, but we just can't see what they look like, so here's some other characters who aren't allowed to show up because it's a high school today. You noticed that, right? That they printed it as a high school by accident? Yeah, I did notice that at first. And that made me really confused, because I know from seeing one of the Ed's IDs, I think Eddy's ID, that they're around 12 years old.
Yeah, they revealed that in season 4. And also, there's like one episode in season 1 where they like mention 11 as being in the past for Eddy, so it's sort of implied that he's 12, but it's just not outright said.
Yeah.
So, something interesting, that ID where it says he's 12, I noticed that it's in like just maybe 4 frames of the movie too.
Oh.
And they also have a new ID when they show his wallet in the movie, because that one has his picture from the school photo episode, so there's a lot of good continuity as the show goes on.
And I know you've talked a lot about on your show about how really look at all the show seasons, there's a distinct character arc between the relationship of the 3 Eds. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Let's start with the beginning. Season 1 is just the Eds they're all a lot nicer and safer. They're not getting hurt at all. They get hurt sometimes, but it's not very violent. Double D gets 1 black eye, I think, and he doesn't get any more until season 3. And it's just very safe. The Eds are having a good time together. They are best friends. Everything's wonderful. they win a lot of the episodes. And then season 2 comes, and things are getting a little more personal to the Eds. We find out about, like, Eddy's been abused a little. They don't get too dark with it, but they mention it, and it's getting a little more serious, they're getting a little more violent, but still we're getting Double D being friends, helping them out, they have a group dynamic still. Season 3, I think, is the best. It's like, they're all fully developed now from season 2, but they also go back to being nice like season 1 for most of it. And all of them contribute very well to the group. And the 2 best things I think about that season is that there are like 3 episodes just about Eddy's brother and what he is to the show and stuff. And that's where most of the information about him comes from. And the other thing I like from that season is that there are a lot of episodes about Ed, and that's something most people notice, that Ed kind of falls by the wayside because Double D and Eddy are so much more developed than him. But he gets like nightmare episodes and stuff. You really learn a lot about Ed in season 3. Mm-hmm. And season 4 is my least favorite because it's what most people consider, I guess, it's what most people think of. Angry, abusive Eddy who's always ready to hurt his friends. But it's really just contained to that season, and Ed's meaner, Double D's meaner. All the kids are meaner and beating the Eds up every episode. It's very weird, but it's also because the season starts off with Jimmy making the Eds pariahs. So it's like, that's where the arc starts. And then season 5 is like, the other thing is last summer season, it's also kind of like things are getting worse because they're scared that the show and summer are about to end. And then at the end, there's that whole special about Eddy being afraid of growing up and stuff. And then we start season 5 with Eddy is trying to make summer last forever, and he ends up failing and having to go to school.
That episode really bothered me because the kids' parents haven't told them about school. They didn't buy them any supplies. Why are these 12-year-old kids 100% responsible for when the first day of school is and that they have their supplies? Second of all, they just all rob Double D. And
yeah.
Double D's parents don't care at all. He's still responsible for getting all the supplies.
It's very strange. I think to some extent it's just the kids are, how would I say it? They have like anxiety about it. They think their parents are going to get mad at them for taking responsibility, but I mean, yeah, it's the parents' fault. I think if the parents were real characters, then maybe they wouldn't really be as bad as the kids make them out to be. And yeah, they kind of like gloss over the parents in a lot of episodes where it seems like, well, shouldn't the parents care about this? Like, you're coming home with black eyes every day. You're getting pulverized on the front porch of the school. What are you doing?
Hankies and lipstick all over you.
Yeah, like that. His dad first appears and only appears.
His arm appears.
Special
guest appearance.
Did you see Eddy's parents' silhouettes in the movie?
I don't think so. Well, it's been a long time since I watched the movie.
I have it all memorized because I'm insane. When Eddy's running all around his house and like going up on the walls and everything, there's one part where he's like running that's from another episode, and most people think it's Bro. And then right before he gets to the door and has to skid to a stop, he passes very quickly a silhouette of his mom, and then him, and then his dad. And it's like sort of a hint that his parents kind of forgot about Bro.
Oh.
Similar to that is in the lost episode before that. You remember those 2 season 6 episodes where it's winter, when Eddy's digging through his closet, book about how to go to a school dance?
I think so.
If you like look through everything he throws out of the closet, a lot of it is stuff from old episodes, and one thing is a mug from his parents that says "Number 1 Son." So they just like kind of canonically hate his brother. They've disowned him.
And something else that bothered me that's kind of related to the whole school supply thing is that no one seems to ever lock their doors in Ed and Eddy.
Oh yeah, I hate that. In that episode where they all switch personalities and Ed no, Eddie hides in Double D's house. Kevin just walks right into Double D's house. And goes up the stairs and starts banging on Double D's room and stuff. And it's like, you're in someone else's house. Do you not expect to pay for this?
And then that episode when Eddie had his zit and Johnny just opened up shop, started selling admission.
Yeah, just like on his second floor hallway.
What is wrong with you kids? Of course, the parents didn't teach them any manners.
How do they not even notice that happening?
And of course, the one time they do lock the doors, they're being chased by the cankers.
Yeah, that's bound to happen. Just their luck. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in the Invaded special?
No. Did you have anything else?
I really like the way it uses all the characters, and something I think a lot about is how at the end there's that like part where they're waiting for the alien to come out and get Naz, and Kevin just gets scared partway through it and puts down the gun like he's been acting all tough this whole episode, and then right in the part where it's gonna count, he just gives up. Mm-hmm. It's like important to his character, and then it's even more important that right after that, Eddy instead mans up and goes in, just wants to get rich, and it's like, that's perfect use of his character.
Yep.
That's like exactly how Eddy would have been in older episodes, and like, they were finally getting back to where it used to be. They finally like got past that whole season 4 aggression thing they were stuck on.
Yeah. And I saw the Big Picture show years ago before I really knew anything about Flanderization or character arcs or anything like that. And I was just appalled by how bad Ed and Eddy were acting. Like, they're watching their best friend desperately trying to dig them out of a sinkhole. He's crying. He thinks they've died, and they're just standing there laughing at him.
Well, it's like kind of annoying. Yeah, I get what you mean, but it's supposed to be sort of like I guess it's like trying to capture what was happening in season 4 and 5 that people didn't like about Ed and Eddy. So it's like getting back to, yeah, they're jerks to Double D. Let's have them be so mean that Double D finally confronts them about it, and they have to make up for it. And so it's annoying, but I think it's very important to their character arcs that they had to get that bad.
Yeah.
I just think they shouldn't have done so many scenes where they have to keep, oh, they're bothering Double D. Oh, they're bothering him again. Oh, they're bothering him the third time. Just keep going. But, I mean, I still like all those scenes. They're really well storyboarded, directed. It's interesting on a lot of different levels, but when I'm just thinking about the writing of the movie, I think they should have focused more on the character arcs.
Yeah.
They just focus on a formula, and then right at the end, they kind of get over it.
Speaking of Double D, did you ever think that Double D was a girl?
I have trouble with this because I never thought he was a girl, but someone told me before I watched the show that he was a girl, so I went in like, okay, I guess it's like Ed as in Edwina or something. And I was like watching, I think it was that first Christmas episode from season 2 where it's still July.
Yeah.
And I was just staring at it and going, how is he a girl? They're calling him male pronouns. He barely has any hair. What is feminine about him? But he got more feminine as it went on, so I kind of see what people are saying.
Yeah. I thought Double D was a girl for a long time when I was a little kid. I mean, a long time. I don't know what it was about him that just made me think it makes more sense for this to be a girl.
I would have liked if there was like a girl Ed in it, but it still works. I like them either way.
Mm-hmm.
I would like more Eds. Just every season they add on a new.
And what do you think's under Double D's hat?
I'm usually leaning towards like a lumpy skull or a scar or something, because Ed seems to think it looks like it hurts, but obviously Double D it doesn't hurt him or anything. And the other thing is that he's had his hat since he was a kid, so by kid I mean like a toddler, and so I'm not sure if I believe he always needed it for the reason he has it now, but...
Yeah, I kind of think it's some kind of, just weird deformity. Maybe he was severely burned, and he's bald, and the skin is really thin, and there's a lot of veins and stuff.
Yeah, it could really be a lot of different things. It's hard to decide. Have you heard about the deleted scene from the movie where Sarah and Jimmy are talking about his hat?
No.
I'm pretty sure I can talk about this. I think it's been thrown around the fandom a bit. Sarah and Jimmy, that part where they're like running before they get to the trailer park, and it's just like them skipping through all the different locations. There was supposed to be a whole conversation in there where they're like excited to be basically the fans, the viewer surrogate, and they're like, oh man, the ads are gonna get beat up, maybe we'll finally get to see under Double D's hat. And Sarah's like, I heard he has a second head under there. And Jimmy goes, I heard he's blonde. And they both start laughing like that's the stupidest thing they ever heard. And it's supposed to be like Danny just going, no, he's not blonde. Sorry.
Wow.
Most people have seen the interview on the season 2 DVD where he says that he would have put Double D's head in the movie, and a lot of people were mad that didn't end up happening. But as I'm sure most people guessed, they just couldn't think of something that was fitting enough and satisfying for everyone. But they actually had a deleted thing that was under his hat that he was also that they were going to reveal, and I'm not sure I can talk about that, but I'll get to that on my blog someday.
I'm not sure I want to see it.
Well, the thing he's hiding that I'm talking about it's not like something scarring or anything. It's pretty cool.
I know,
it's
but
important to his character.
I know, but I don't want to get rid of the mystery, you know?
Yeah. And that's what this was. It was like a cool, like, in between. It's not really getting rid of the mystery, but it's like solving half of it.
Yeah.
Is a pretty cool idea. But the main thing they were going to get out of it was that Double D was going to take his hat off in front of Ed and Eddy, and they weren't even going to react. It was just going to be, sure, they reacted earlier, but now they're all such best friends because of the whole swamp scene that now they're just cool seeing him hatless. They can all hang out normal now.
Yeah.
No more secrets.
I think it's about time we talk about the most important character in the show. You know who I'm talking about?
Is it Eddy's brother?
No, Plank.
Plank. Second guess.
We're pals, we're buddies through and through. Wish I knew what to buy for you on your birthday. Our friendship goes against the grain. I've seen you swell up in the rain. I saw you, didn't see your pain. Was it termites? It's never hard to talk to you, though you stump me with your silence. I feel so naughty pining here for your happy face's guidance. My best friend Plank, my best friend Plank, my best friend Plank.
You got questions about Plank?
Not really questions. I just want to talk about him. One, in the show they do so many things to hint that Plank is a sentient being and that he's got some kind of influence over Johnny, but I heard that Denny Antonucci actually came out and said, no, Plank's just inanimate. He's just a piece of wood. He doesn't have any intelligence or anything.
I'm not sure if he's exactly that. My memory's a little fuzzy, but I think it's on the season 2 DVD, that same interview where he said he would show Double D's head in the movie. He was talking about how when he was originally showing like animators how to draw his show and stuff, they kept trying to like make Plank blink in the background and stuff. Just do weird things where he's sort of not really wood, and he's like, no, he has to just be a board. You have to be confused about it. So I think he was just like talking about how to animate Plank, because in the actual show there are times where he moves on screen, there are times where he moves off screen, but there's like no way he could have possibly done that without Johnny. Like when he was driving around in that wagon in Urban Ed, or when he like flies to Johnny in Robin Ed when they're superheroes.
And in the Big Picture show when he hijacks a bus.
Yeah, that's pretty alive. And he's also like obviously a piece of a 2x4 should be like dead. It shouldn't be living wood anymore, but he grows branches in Scrambled Egg in season 2, so I guess technically he's alive somehow. I like to think he's like possessed or something, and it's making the wood do weird things.
Yeah. The explanation about Danny Antonucci was just talking about how to draw and animate Plank. You know, that makes sense. That makes more sense than Danny Antonucci saying, no, Plank is not really alive in the show, yet the show does a lot of things that contradict that.
Yeah, that's my take on it, my analysis of Danny. It's hard to analyze him, though. When you analyze Danny, you have to kind of expect that he's going to maybe go and say the opposite just to make you look wrong.
You're right. There's a simple solution here. Now take off your pants and underwear if you're wearing any.
What? That's not what I meant, Cheeseball.
Danny, you know it's completely stupid and ridiculous and impossible for a trailer to have a staircase for me to push you down, so this is your only option.
You don't understand. I think this baby's a good thing.
The hell are you getting at?
I think this could be a huge step for us. You, me, a house of our own, and raising a little you.
A little me? Don't you get enough of me already, woman?
I have a blog called Book of Scams. It's on Tumblr. You can search for it pretty easily, just don't put an F behind the O.
Book O Scams.
Yeah. And I'm also doing 2 cartoons a month right now on YouTube. My YouTube account is Kevin L's account, all one word. L, because my last name is Lordi. You can probably find it really easy just by searching Kevin Lordi.
And I'm going to put links to all that in the description and show notes.
Thank you. And the cartoons I'm doing right now are about ferrets. They're really cartoony. I try to animate them like Eddy and Eddy. And I'm trying to get my Patreon supported. Patreon.com/KevinLordi.
So tell us what people can get by supporting your Patreon.
So for $3 or more, you get early access to the cartoons. For $5 or more, you get a credit at the end of each cartoon and early access. $10 or more, you get to see the storyboards and behind-the-scenes stuff. And for $20 or more, you get to be an executive producer, and you can like give notes on the cartoons before they come out so I can change them and stuff. And I'm also considering, like, I did a cartoon called Bro Show once about Eddy's brother and his origins and stuff, so I'm considering like doing the rest of those stories and maybe a comic for giving them to my Patreon.
I never truly appreciated Eddy and Eddy until I found out that it would be him. Once I got the news, I just took a look back and realized what a great thing it was. And even back then, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now as an adult who has the ability to critically think about cartoons and other media. We are the Saturday Morning Block Party Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. If you follow our Tumblr, you'll get to see a lot of GIFs, a lot of behind-the-scenes cartoon stuff, a lot of analysis. That's the social media network we're most active on. And you can also find us at SaturdayMorningBlockParty.com. All the links to those will be in the show notes. And please write us a review on iTunes. Please, 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 please. I'll give you a jawbreaker. And also check out Kevin's work on YouTube and support his Patreon. It is really good stuff. I tell you, he does an excellent job of mimicking the just overall aesthetic, style, and mood of late 90s, early 2000s cartoons. And I really enjoy the Bro Show, that clip where the guy was talking about giving his girlfriend a trailer park abortion. That was actually part of it. So yeah, it's PG-13, but it's still really good. Keep in mind that Eddy's brother isn't supposed to be good. But yeah, if his Patreon reaches $2,000 a month, he will do 20 episodes of The Bro Show. I really want to see that happen. And if you're part of an animation studio, you should hire him. He's really good. He's also done a lot of great work that is not related to Eddy and Eddy, like his ferret videos Those are really good. He's got good style of writing. He's very talented, so check those out. And I'm going to do something new here. Later on this week, I will release a blog on Saturday morning, blockparty.com. It will be known as Extra Credits. What I'm going to do is when we discuss something on the show and there's more to be said, I'm going to write that in a blog post. It could include extra analysis. It could include specific recommended episodes. It could include fan art or fan works. It's just a lot of fun. You should all check it out. Check out Saturday morning, blockparty.com later on this week. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. It is 4 a.m. and I have to become an expert on Sonic by 1 p.m. Goodbye.